Hello and welcome to Blytheway Business News. Today we are joined by Avihu Tamir, who is the CEO of Kanabo Research. Avihu, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good day.
Can you start by giving us an overview of Kanabo and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so Kanabo is a medical device and medical cannabis company focused on solutions for medical cannabis inhalations. That means that we're producing medical device, vaporizer, and medical formulations of cannabis for specific indications. We're looking into insomnia and sleep disorder, pain management, and PTSD.
Can you let us know what's happening with your RTO?
Yesterday, we just came out with a RNS announcement that we signed a share purpose agreement with Spinnaker Opportunities, and we're moving forward with the merger to be listed on the LSE market. We're expecting that this listing will happen in the first quarter of 2020, and it's quite exciting. If you know that right now there's no cannabis companies on the London Stock Exchange or the AIM market, and hopefully to be one of the first.
And why would you choose to list in London?
It's a question I've been asked a few times, and I'm surprised because the London Stock Exchange is one of the major ones. Maybe the last year wasn't a great for the public market here, but it's still one of the top markets in the world. Looking at Canada, looking at other public markets and see that they're struggling, I feel that there's a need out there for the cannabis industry to find a more mature, responsible public market, and I believe that the London Stock Exchange could be one of them.
Can you tell us what the difference is between a Kanabo's vape pod and a traditional vaporizer?
That's a good question. Vaporizer is a general name, I think, for many different devices. You have flower-based loose leaf devices that you ground the cannabis, adding it to a device and vaping it. Electronic cigarettes was rebranded as vapes. So they're electronic cigarettes, but everyone will call them a vape, as a short vaporizer. And then you have products that are like cannabis product, where you have a pure extract that are being heated and evaporated. And the uniqueness is on the hardware side. This is a device that was manufactured as a medical device. That meaning the regulations surrounding it, the material, the biocompatible, and the quality assurance processes that you have into it. But most important is the material that's going inside. If you look on electronic cigarettes, what you will usually see is 1 to 2% nicotine with e-liquid mix. It's called glycerin or propylene glycol materials. And what we're doing is a bit different. We're saying that the plant itself, it doesn't have if it's a hemp plant or cannabis plant, has all the ingredients needed to create a pure product. So cannabis products are pure. That means that the only thing you have inside is natural cannabinoids and terpenes that you have in the plant. And you have in the end the result of a pure product, very potent product, without any artificial additive inside. And that's one of the uniqueness and differentiations.
I think that's brought us on to our next question, because in the US, a lot of vape products have been getting some very bad press recently. What makes your products different?
I believe that what we saw in the last 6 months in the US is a wake-up call for the industry. First of all, regulation-wise. Most of the cases, I think almost 99% of cases that happened with vape were illegal markets. And even the ones that were sold as legally was unregulated. And I think that the industry should start thinking and looking on what companies are putting inside, and mainly what devices are being used. This is our main strategy, trying to create hardware that is safe and using material that are medical grade materials, and not adding any materials inside that were never approved for inhalation. But that's what's happening if you're buying, let's say, products off the street.
Right, and I think President Trump was worried as well about young children getting involved with candy flavors, bubblegum flavors, fruit flavors.
The second part of this challenge is in general vaporization of nicotine. And I think maybe the best example now is the Juul. And they succeeded maybe too well to make consuming nicotine cool again. And that's a problem, because one argument, and I don't agree with many of the arguments of people against electronic cigarettes, one argument that I do agree is that while young generation almost stopped smoking, they understood that consuming nicotine and smoking is just not healthy for you. And we saw a massive drop compared to older generations. What happened with electronic cigarettes is that suddenly this is cool again. It's tasty, it's fun, but everyone forgetting that the levels of nicotine today in a standard e-cigarette is probably 2 or 3 times higher than a cigarette. So maybe it's not unhealthy as a cigarette, but it's more addictive than a cigarette. So you have a new generation of young people that without electronic cigarette would never touch a cigarette, becoming addicted to nicotine.
I think what we touched on earlier about pain relief as well, and sort of helping patients potentially not to become reliant on opioids, I thought that was a really great angle.
Yeah, we see now statistics that are coming out where in places that actually cannabis or CBD is available, you see quite a big drop on the consumption of opioids. And opioids is a problem, extremely addictive, and with a dangerous side effect of dying from overdose. You don't have this with CBD. CBD would not kill you, would not have any significant side effect, and for some people, it's actually a solution for pain.
Good. That sounds very promising. Many Canadian cannabis stocks have decreased in value recently. Does this concern you at all?
I think it's logic. It's maybe the stock exchange life of the wave. Looking now on the stock market in Canada, looking on the companies in Canada, after a drop of something around 50% drop since May, most big companies there still made between 200 to 300% increase since the IPO. In average, the big companies in Canada, since the IPO until today, after this drop, has 250% average of increase. So that's the big picture. At the same time, we have to remember that the Canadian stock exchange was very open and comfortable and maybe less regulated for cannabis company. They had a flood. Hundreds of cannabis companies were listed in just a very short time of a few years. Obviously, you have some of them that didn't have real assets. Companies that came with a promise to a license to cultivate that had no business, just a business plan while they're listing. And that's an issue. I don't believe this is going to happen in the UK. I believe that actually what's happening now in North America is an opportunity for a mature market like the LSE, because here you have a rigorous regulation. The process that we're passing is almost 10 months of regulation process and a prospectus writing that you don't have in equivalent markets. And the idea is to bring more responsible, mature, and companies that have real IP and business. And that's the real opportunity. If London Stock Exchange will end up being a successful, responsible cannabis place for other companies, you will see, I believe, probably another 5 to 15 companies coming here in 2020 to list.
And of course, it'll be good if you're the first. Well, it's good to be the first.
Yeah, I hope on that.
Avihu, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Blytheway Business News. We'll be back again with more news.